Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unboxed. I'm so glad that you've chosen to join us. Listen, as I shared with you yesterday, I have been spending. I had the opportunity of spending an entire week with my family, my mother and father, and my sister. I had my children and got to interact with my grandchildren. It was just like a big family reunion. It wasn't planned that way. I got a chance to spend time with my aunts and uncle, and I really began to learn a lot about leadership by spending time with my family. I shared my family background and some of my experiences with you. Now I want to talk to you about what it actually taught me. So stick around. We're going to unbox all that, some of the things that I learned, not all, but some of the things that I learned about leadership by spending time with my family. You don't want to miss it. I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and relationship coach. And welcome to Unboxed, a frank and straightforward conversation about relationships. We're going to talk about family, church, workplace, and all other types of relationships. Join me for the next few moments as we unbox the power and potential of relationships and help you to live your best life. Hello once again, everyone. Please make sure before we get started, you like, subscribe, and share. I'm so glad that you have chosen to join us at Unbox as we talk about leadership, as we talk about relationships, because here at Unbox, we want to unbox the power and the potential of your leadership. And we want to unbox the power and the potential of every type of relationship. So I told you about my family, how my mother and father are now remarried after being separated all of my life. I have no memory of them actually being together. And it was really amazing. But of course, even though that's somewhat of a fairy tale, there are certain ways that my family functions, and there are certain relationship patterns that have developed over my 46 years of life. And by the way, I'll be 47 in a few days. July the 22nd is my birthday. Hint, hint. July 22nd is my birthday. And if you want to know what I like, cash is the best. Amen. All right. So I learned an awful lot about myself and about family relationships and about relationships by being with my family. And I learned that there were certain behavioral patterns that are just evident in my family relationships, even though I'm making a move toward becoming more emotionally mature. And even though my family is starting to become more united after years of being separated and having to deal with the dysfunction that brings. But this is why I told you this, the reason why I shared with you that even though there are movements, there are still a lot of relationship patterns that my family has developed that is not ideal. Things that we really have to work on, things that we really have to be, conscious about. And one of the things that I noticed as I was spending time with my family, especially my mother, is that the more I observed the way that I was feeling, and the more that I observed my emotions, actually, the better I functioned. And I'm gonna tell you why this is so important. The relationship with my mother, being a single mom, was a very highly anxious relationship. And those of you who have ever lived, in poverty or poor in a single family home, there's a lot of anxiety, especially for young Black men being raised by single moms living in a major city like Washington, D.C. There's a lot of anxiety. And so small things can trigger deep emotions. Now, one of the things that I learned just from being a pastor and just from, spending so much time in congregational leadership was I learned how to mask my emotions. And this is important. This is not a bad thing. In other words, just because I'm angry doesn't mean that I cuss folk out. I learned how to manage that. Or just because I'm feeling annoyed doesn't mean that I have to, put up the peace sign and say, get out of my face, quit talking to me. I learned how to be able to experience emotions, but still to conduct and to manage myself, in a professional. I guess that's the best way to say it. I knew how to be a professional. But what I did not know how to do was to manage the internal feelings and manage the ways that I related to relationships. So while I was professional, as I shared with you before, one of the things that I was known for doing was kind of running over folk to get what I needed to get accomplished. Another thing that I noticed about me was that, when relationships are very stressful, when they're, complicated and difficult, my thing is just to distance myself, to say, you know what, I don't want to be involved in all of that. The second thing that I was known for doing was to, just to cut off. I'm out of here, deuces. Again, I would do it in a professional way, but the result was still the same, which is either distance or cut off. And so I began to understand that, hey, when you are in a highly reactive or highly anxious relationship system, when you are in your family of origin, you actually, develop certain patterns. And so being with my family this last week, I began to realize that as I observed my emotions when I'm in a highly anxious relationship, that I automatically began to function better. And let me share with you what I'm talking about there. What I'm talking about, for instance, is one of the things, and I think most of us can relate to this one. My mom is the type of mom who loves to give unsolicited advice. I mean, she really loves to tell you what you should do, how you should do it. She's got advice for every aspect of your life, whether it's your employment, raising your children, the way you dress, if you've put on any weight, hint, hint. So you can imagine I caught that one, if you put on any weight or anything, and she's got all the advice in the world. And even though I have become more intentional about how I respond and react, trying to take some of those professional skills that I have and translate them into my family, I began to just notice, man, little small things that should not annoy you, things that should not aggravate me, really did. Like, I began to realize that, man, I am very emotional. I'm very emotional. And so I said, you know what, man, just by being in the process of observing what my emotions are as I'm in, especially family relationships, I noticed that it really did help me to function better. Asking myself, questions like, what is going on that is causing you to be so annoyed? What is going on that is leading you to become frustrated? Asking myself those questions, those emotions arose, going through those process type questions. I noticed, hold on a second. I'm not becoming as reactive. These emotions are not having as much of a control over my life and having as much control over how I am feeling and thinking when I'm in this particular relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that my mother's behavior changed, but it means that the way I responded changed. And it's amazing. And I share this with you because one of the things that, I do in my leadership coaching and with the peer support groups is to help individuals to identify how they learned to function in family relationships, how their emotions, what type of emotions develop and how reactive they are in family relationships, and then to use that to improve themselves in every other type of relationship system. I'm going to share with you some other things, but today, again, I discovered, here's the big point. If you observe your emotions when you are in a high anxiety relationship, you will automatically function better. If you just by observing, I can't explain how it happens, but just by observing, you will begin to function better. And that's what I want for you. I want you to be the best authentic leader that you can be and to have the healthiest relationships you can have. We have a lot of tools and resources for leaders. And so I'm going to leave you today, as you like, subscribe, and share, with one of the tools that we have for you. And until we meet again the next time, continue to unbox your leadership. Continue to unbox the best of all relationships. Take care.
Community leadership can be hard, lonely, and stressful. So if you're an executive director, you're not alone. UnBoxed offers a dynamic peer support group where executive directors can share their hopes, questions, fears, and expertise in a safe, confidential space. For more information about our executive directors support group, email us or visit our UnBoxed website.